What would Burkina Faso do if France told it would never leave? After respectfully asking France to leave, Burkina Faso had to resort to something else. It is expelling diplomats after troops, and this could escalate further. But why can't France just leave Burkina Faso alone? Why is it being disrespected and still present there? Let's find out. Burkina Faso expelled 3 French diplomats from operating in the country. But what prompted the expulsion of French diplomats from Burkina Faso? The expulsion of French diplomats from Burkina Faso is a pivotal moment, signaling a profound deterioration in the diplomatic relationship between the West African nation and its former colonial ruler, France. This expulsion, reportedly triggered by the diplomats' alleged engagement with civil society members, highlights the widening chasm between the two nations since Burkina Faso came under the control of a military junta following the tumultuous events of the 2022 coup. But what has led to this? Since the junta, under the leadership of Captain Ibrahim Traore, seized power in Burkina Faso, the nation has undergone a significant transformation in its foreign policy, marked by a deliberate shift away from its historical ties with France. This strategic realignment has been characterized by a series of assertive actions to assert Burkina Faso's independence and sovereignty on the international stage. One of the most striking moves by the Traore-led government has been the outright cancellation of diplomatic ties with France. This former colonial power has maintained considerable influence in the region. This bold step was accompanied by the withdrawal of the French ambassador from Burkina Faso, signaling a clear break in bilateral relations that had endured for decades. Furthermore, under Traore's guidance, Burkina Faso's leadership has taken the decisive measure of annulling long-standing military agreements with France. These agreements, which had previously facilitated cooperation and assistance between the two nations in defense and security, were incompatible with Burkina Faso's new vision for its national security strategy. In a strategic pivot that has captured international attention, Burkina Faso has actively sought security support from Russia, signaling a significant departure from its traditional reliance on Western powers for defense assistance. This move has emphasized Burkina Faso's determination to diversify its international partnerships and has had tangible consequences for its relationship with France. The recalibration of Burkina Faso's security alliances has led to the recall of French troops from the region, marking a symbolic and substantive shift in Franco-Burkina relations. The withdrawal of the French military has not only created a security vacuum. Still, it has also exacerbated tensions between the two nations, deepening the existing rift and underscoring the gravity of Burkina Faso's strategic repositioning. And what message can France take from this? The expulsion of French diplomats from Burkina Faso is a poignant wake-up call for France. It signals the erosion of its once dominant influence in the region, particularly within its former African colonies. This expulsion comes as France is already grappling with challenges to its military presence and strategic interests in the Sahel region. The cessation of French military missions in neighboring Mali and Burkina Faso, alongside the ongoing withdrawal of forces from Niger, highlights the complex and evolving security dynamics that France confronts in the Sahel. These developments highlight the limitations of France's military intervention strategy in addressing the root causes of instability and extremism in the region, prompting a critical reassessment of its approach to security cooperation and counterterrorism efforts. Furthermore, the emergence of military juntas in countries like Burkina Faso, characterized by violent coups and political upheaval, further complicates France's diplomatic calculus. The ascendancy of military leaders to power poses significant challenges to France's traditional partnerships and alliances in Africa, necessitating a fundamental reassessment of its engagement and strategy vis-à-vis African affairs. In the face of these challenges, France finds itself at a crossroads, forced to adapt to a rapidly changing geopolitical landscape while safeguarding its strategic interests and maintaining its influence in the region. This requires a recalibration of France's military and diplomatic approach and a deeper understanding of the political, social, and economic dynamics driving instability in the Sahel. Following the 2022 coup in Burkina Faso, the junta-led government undertook several specific diplomatic and military actions to distance itself from France, reflecting a strategic shift in its foreign policy. These actions were motivated by a desire to assert Burkina Faso's sovereignty, reduce dependence on former colonial powers, and diversify its international alliances. The cancellation of diplomatic ties between Burkina Faso and France stands out as one of the earliest and most symbolic actions undertaken by the Traore-led government. This decisive move represents a significant departure from the historical framework of bilateral relations that had long characterized the interaction between the two nations. By severing official diplomatic channels, Burkina Faso made an unequivocal statement about its intention to assert its independence and sovereignty in the international arena. The decision to cancel diplomatic ties with France was not merely a procedural formality, but a deliberate and calculated step aimed at redefining the parameters of the relationship between the two countries. This action carries profound symbolic weight, serving as a potent symbol of Burkina Faso's break from its colonial past and its determination to chart its course on the world stage. It represents a rejection of the lingering vestiges of colonialism and a bold assertion of Burkina Faso's agency and autonomy in shaping its foreign policy. Furthermore, the cancellation of diplomatic ties with France sends a clear message to the international community about Burkina Faso's willingness to challenge established power dynamics and forge new alliances based on its strategic interests. It highlights the Traore-led government's commitment to pursuing an independent and assertive foreign policy agenda that prioritizes the nation's sovereignty and self-determination. In practical terms, canceling diplomatic ties has significant implications for the day-to-day diplomatic interactions between Burkina Faso and France. It means the closure of embassies, the withdrawal of ambassadors, and the cessation of formal diplomatic dialogue and cooperation agreements. These diplomatic repercussions symbolize a rupture in bilateral relations and create practical challenges for both countries regarding communication, negotiation, and representation on the global stage. The withdrawal of the French ambassador from Burkina Faso, executed in tandem with the cancellation of diplomatic ties, serves as another significant diplomatic gesture that underscores the depth of the rift between the two nations. Ambassadors play a crucial role in maintaining diplomatic relations between countries, serving as the primary channels of communication and representation on behalf of their respective governments. The decision to withdraw the French ambassador from Burkina Faso carries symbolic and practical implications that reverberate far beyond mere diplomatic protocol. Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. Symbolically, Burkina Faso's withdrawal of the French ambassador sends a clear message about the seriousness of its stance towards France. It represents a tangible manifestation of the junta's resolve to distance itself from French influence and assert its independence on the global stage. By removing the French ambassador from its territory, Burkina Faso not only signals its disapproval of France's actions or policies, but also asserts its authority to dictate the terms of engagement in bilateral relations. Practically, the withdrawal of the French ambassador disrupts the normal functioning of diplomatic relations between Burkina Faso and France. It leads to the closure of the French embassy in Burkina Faso and the cessation of formal diplomatic engagements at the ambassadorial level. This disruption can have significant ramifications for various aspects of bilateral cooperation, including trade, security, and cultural exchange, as communication channels are severed and diplomatic dialogue grinds to a halt. Moreover, the withdrawal of the French ambassador serves as a potent diplomatic tool, exerting pressure on France to reconsider its policies or actions that may have contributed to the deterioration of relations with Burkina Faso. It highlights the consequences of France's actions and underscores the need for dialogue and reconciliation to address the underlying grievances and rebuild trust between the two nations. Were the military relations also affected? Yes, military relations were also impacted. The dissolution of long-standing military agreements between Burkina Faso and France represents a significant strategic move by the Traore-led junta to reshape the nation's defense posture and reduce dependence on external actors for military support. These military agreements, forged over years of cooperation between Burkina Faso and France, covered a range of defense-related activities, including training programs, joint exercises, and logistical support. They formed the backbone of the security partnership between the two countries, reflecting Burkina Faso's historical ties to France and its reliance on French military expertise and resources. However, the junta's decision to annul these agreements signals a clear break from the past and a re-evaluation of Burkina Faso's defense priorities. The junta seeks to assert greater autonomy in defense matters and sovereignty over the nation's security policy by terminating these agreements. The annulment of military agreements with France reflects broader geopolitical considerations and strategic realignments within the region. As Burkina Faso seeks to diversify its international partnerships and reduce reliance on traditional allies like France, it may turn to other countries for military support and cooperation. French troops were also kicked out. The recall of French troops from Burkina Faso effectively marks the end of France's military presence on Burkinabe soil. This action directly impacts French forces' operational capacity and strategic deployment in the region, signaling a significant shift in Franco-Burkinabe relations and Burkina Faso's defense strategy. The withdrawal of French troops removes a key component of the multinational security efforts aimed at addressing terrorism and instability in the Sahel region. It represents a tangible manifestation of Burkina Faso's desire to assert greater control over its security affairs and reduce dependence on external military assistance. So, does the action taken to expel 3 French diplomats also show that Burkina Faso wants to end all relations with France? The expulsion of 3 French diplomats from Burkina Faso is a potent indication of the junta-led government's intention to sever or significantly diminish its relationship with France. The expulsion highlights the junta's determination to assert Burkina Faso's independence and reduce its reliance on France. After all this, is France making any adjustments? In response to recent geopolitical developments, France has made significant adjustments to its military presence and missions in West Africa, particularly in nations such as Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. France has recently declared the termination of its military operations in Mali and Burkina Faso, a significant decision that marks the conclusion of its involvement in Operation Barkhane. These missions, integral to France's strategy to counter Islamist militants and bolster security in the Sahel region, have long been a focal point of international attention. However, the decision to end these missions is not solely a strategic shift, but reflects a complex interplay of diplomatic and regional dynamics. Burkina Faso's stance has played a pivotal role in this development. The pressure exerted by Burkina Faso authorities signals a clear message: a refusal to consent to any perceived dominance by France. Burkina Faso's firm stance highlights a broader trend in the region, where countries are increasingly asserting their sovereignty and seeking to redefine their relationships with former colonial powers. This sentiment is particularly pronounced in security cooperation, where foreign troops can sometimes be perceived as compromising national autonomy. While France's military missions in Mali and Burkina Faso aim to combat Islamist extremism and provide security assistance, the decision to end them reflects a recalibration of priorities in light of evolving regional dynamics. It highlights the need for a more nuanced and collaborative approach to security challenges in the Sahel, which respects regional actors' sovereignty while addressing the root causes of instability. As France disengages from its military operations, regional governments must take greater ownership of security efforts and work towards sustainable solutions to the Sahel's complex challenges. This transition presents opportunities and challenges, requiring enhanced cooperation, capacity building, and a renewed focus on addressing the underlying drivers of conflict and extremism. French forces have also initiated their withdrawal from Niger, adding another layer to the evolving dynamics in the Sahel region. This move comes after France concludes its military missions in neighboring Mali and Burkina Faso, signaling a broader reconfiguration of its presence and strategy in West Africa. How beneficial will France's exit be for Burkina Faso? Expelling French diplomats and distancing Burkina Faso from France asserts the country's sovereignty and independence in its diplomatic affairs. By reducing dependency on former colonial powers, Burkina Faso seeks to project itself as a more self-reliant and autonomous nation on the international stage. But that's not it. Burkina Faso's decision to expel French diplomats also signifies a significant shift in its foreign policy, particularly toward diversifying its international partnerships. This move is likely part of a broader strategy to reduce the country's reliance on any nation, such as France, for economic and security support. Firstly, Burkina Faso's expulsion of French diplomats suggests a desire to assert its independence and sovereignty in foreign relations. Diversifying international partnerships presents Burkina Faso with numerous advantages beyond mere diplomatic symbolism. By cultivating relationships with diverse nations, particularly emerging powers such as Russia and other regional players, Burkina Faso can tap into alternative sources of economic aid, investment, and development assistance. One key benefit of diversification is the reduction of dependency on any single country or bloc. Relying heavily on a single partner for economic or security support can leave Burkina Faso vulnerable to external pressures or fluctuations in the partner's priorities. By broadening its network of alliances, Burkina Faso spreads its risk and lessens the potential negative impacts of over-reliance on a particular partner. Accessing alternative economic aid and investment sources can stimulate growth and development within Burkina Faso. Emerging powers often offer different models of development assistance and investment strategies compared to traditional Western donors. These may include infrastructure projects, trade agreements, or investments in key energy, agriculture, or technology sectors. By diversifying its partnerships, Burkina Faso can leverage these diverse sources of support to address its unique development needs and promote sustainable economic growth. Moreover, engaging with emerging powers can foster innovation and knowledge exchange. Countries like Russia often possess science, technology, and defense expertise, which could be valuable for Burkina Faso's development objectives. Collaborating with diverse partners allows Burkina Faso to benefit from various perspectives, ideas, and solutions to address its challenges and capitalize on its opportunities. Additionally, diversification enhances Burkina Faso's diplomatic leverage and bargaining power on the international stage. By engaging with multiple partners, Burkina Faso can be more active in shaping global agendas and negotiating favorable terms in bilateral or multilateral agreements. This can strengthen Burkina Faso's position in international forums and increase its influence in decision-making processes that affect its interests. In addition to economic considerations, diversifying partnerships can enhance Burkina Faso's security posture. By cultivating relationships with multiple countries, especially those with different geopolitical interests and capabilities, Burkina Faso can enhance its diplomatic leverage and access a broader range of security assistance. This could include military cooperation, intelligence sharing, and capacity-building efforts to address threats such as terrorism, insurgency, and transnational crime. Moreover, forging partnerships with diverse countries can contribute to Burkina Faso's diplomatic flexibility and resilience. Maintaining a diverse network of relationships in a rapidly evolving global landscape, where geopolitical alliances and power dynamics are constantly shifting, can give Burkina Faso the agility to adapt to changing circumstances and navigate complex international challenges. But will it help Burkina Faso in facing hard times? Since Burkina Faso has not received significant assistance from Western nations in the past, expelling French diplomats could be a strategic move aimed at opening the door to new partnerships with nations that may be more willing to offer support. China and Russia, as emerging powers with growing influence in global affairs, could present attractive alternatives for Burkina Faso. China, for example, has been increasingly active in Africa, offering investment in infrastructure, trade agreements, and development assistance. Through initiatives like the Belt and Road Initiative (BRI), China is willing to engage with African nations on various economic and developmental projects. Burkina Faso could benefit from Chinese investment in transportation, energy, and telecommunications and increase trade opportunities with Chinese markets. Similarly, Russia has been seeking to expand its influence in Africa, particularly in energy, defense, and natural resources. Russia has historically maintained diplomatic ties with many African nations and has recently intensified its efforts to strengthen economic and political cooperation. Burkina Faso could explore partnerships with Russia in energy development, military cooperation, and infrastructure projects. By welcoming new nations like China and Russia, Burkina Faso may hope to diversify its economic aid, investment, and development assistance sources. These partnerships could provide the country access to resources and expertise it may not have previously had access to, potentially contributing to its economic growth and development objectives. Moreover, forging alliances with China and Russia could have geopolitical implications, as it may signal Burkina Faso's desire to balance its relationships with different global powers. This could enhance Burkina Faso's diplomatic leverage and position it as a more independent actor on the international stage. Burkina Faso may seek to assert greater control over its economic resources and development trajectory by reducing its reliance on French investments or aid. Expelling French diplomats could signal a desire to pursue economic policies, prioritizing local interests and development initiatives. Overall, this move would bring great prosperity to Burkina Faso. Do you also believe the same? What would happen if France left Burkina Faso forever? Do you consider it a good thing? Let us know in the comments section. Will Russia and China be able to provide more benefits to Burkina Faso than the West ever did? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If so, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious Blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.